This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from April 19th to April 22nd of 2024. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series, a channel favorite where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Now, I know this episode's being released on Tuesday. That's because Christian Pulisic played on Monday, so we postponed it because, I mean, he is our best player, and we wouldn't want to skip Pulisic. With that said, I do not have one of those corny dad jokes that I usually open the episodes with because I wasn't really feeling creative this weekend. I had what I normally call the Berhalter MMA midfield syndrome, which is the same syndrome that Stephen King suffers from every time he closes a book. However, there is one thing that I want to announce this week. We do have a 2-episode miniseries interview with no one less than Greg Lalas, the brother of Alexi Lalas that works for USL, the second division of the United States, where he's going to be talking about the league structure, current plans, long-term plans, and the ongoing talks within the league to implement promotion relegation in U.S. soccer. Yes, you heard that right. Promotion relegation might happen, and Greg Lalas will address that in the 2-episode miniseries, so you're going to want to watch that. It comes out on Wednesday and Thursday this week. Last but not least, I want you to kindly hit the like button right now, because if you don't do it, you will go bald. And if you are already bald, like Greg Berhalter, and I know Berhalter's watching this right now, hit the like button anyway, just to help a brother out. Okay? Let's roll the intro, and let's start the recap. As always, we start with the top 5 leagues in Europe, the first one being the English Premier League. With that said, why don't we talk about Gio Reyna and Matt Turner from Nottingham Forest. And on Sunday, Gio Reyna got his second consecutive start for Nottingham Forest, but he was subbed out around minute 53 during their 2-0 loss to Everton. As for Matt Turner, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes. However, Sells, their starting goalkeeper, was actually very mediocre once again. Maybe, just maybe, they should give Matt Turner another shot, which probably won't happen, but it should. Now, you may be wondering, how did Gio Reyna do? And I'll say that he did okay. He was playing as a winger, but he was tucked inside quite a bit. Had a few good combination plays here and there. Didn't really have any bad moments that I can remember. He did also draw a penalty kick that the ref didn't call. I know it was sort of debatable, but Reyna did get kicked by the opponent in the box, and in my personal opinion, it was a penalty kick. There were also a few other iffy no calls against Nottingham Forest, like a handball in the box that should have been a penalty for Nottingham Forest, but that's not relevant for this video. Let's just say that the ref didn't really seem to like Nottingham Forest. I will say this though, Reyna wasn't bad, but I could also see him ending up back on the bench after this performance because he was the first starter to be subbed out by Nuno Espirito Santo, even though Nottingham Forest looked a lot worse in possession once Gio Reyna was subbed out. Okay, but, you know, it is what it is. We'll see next weekend. After Gio Reyna and Matt Turner, we have Chris Richards from Crystal Palace. And on Sunday, Chris Richards was back from injury and he started and played the full 90 minutes for Crystal Palace during their tremendous 5-2 win over West Ham. Chris Richards was actually great. He didn't look rusty at all while coming back from an injury. He was solid throughout the game, was great on the ball, and even one of the Crystal Palace goals started due to a Chris Richards interception. Next up, we have another center back, or another American center back that plays in the English Premier League, and his name is Austin Trusty, and he plays for Sheffield United. And on Saturday, Austin Trusty started and played the full 90 minutes for Sheffield during their 4-1 loss to Burnley in the English Premier League. Sheffield are not officially relegated, but according to myself and anyone that looks at the table right now, they are relegated. Like, this team is going down. There's no way they're escaping relegation. It is totally Jover for them. And is this Austin Trusty's fault if they get relegated? No, not entirely. The entire team isn't English Premier League level, including Austin Trusty. They leaked 88 goals in 33 matches. It'll be good for Austin Trusty to play next season or another 2 or 3 seasons in the Championship, and then maybe one day be back in the English Premier League as he continues to improve as a player. Next up, we have Anthony Robinson and Tim Ream from Fulham. And on Sunday, Robinson started and played the full 90 minutes for Fulham during their 3-1 loss to Liverpool. As for Tim Ream, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Fulham. Next on the list would have been Tyler Adams, but he wasn't available for Bournemouth once again. I have no updates on that. We don't know for how much longer Tyler will be out. He missed the last, 2 to 3 weeks or so. So things are not looking good there, especially for a player that was out actually for 12 months due to an injury. So no updates on Tyler, which is not good. Now we're going to leave England and go to Italy to talk about the Americans that play in the Serie A. And you are going to smash the like button right now. Why don't we start by talking about Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa from Milan. And on Monday, Pulisic and Musa both started for Milan during their 2-1 loss to Inter Milan in the Serie A. Hey, it was just a 2-1 loss this time, much better than the first match, earlier in the season where Inter Milan defeated Milan in the Serie A 5-1. I call that progress. Even though if you rewatch the first half, Inter Milan probably could have had a 3-4-0 lead, maybe a 4-1 lead. So maybe it wasn't that much progress. They just got a bit luckier. With this 2-1 victory, Inter Milan has officially won the Scudetto this season. They are the Italian champs 5 rounds prior to the end of the season, which is quite remarkable. But you know what? We don't really care about Inter Milan in this channel. We're not Inter Milan fans. With that said, how did the Americans do? And let me start by saying that Pioli decided to experiment in a derby, the Milan derby, and switch Pulisic to the left wing for this match with Rafael Leão playing as the 9, and he actually had Yunus Musa as the right winger. Christian Pulisic played the full 90 minutes and he didn't really play well, in my opinion. He struggled and looked lost at times. The only somewhat good moment I can remember from him when he hit a left-footed volley that went over the crossbar in the second half, and that's about it. And I know it does also piss me off when other fans start to meme that Pulisic ghosted in the Milan derby, but he kind of did, at least for this specific game. It was a bit on him, a bit on Pioli for experimenting in this specific match, and a bit on the team because Milan just wasn't great. They were actually kind of bad, a little bit of garbage, I would say. Pulisic was not their worst performer, I'll tell you that. Christian Pulisic has been a bit of a streaky player this season. He goes through stretches of like 5 to 6 games where he balls out, getting goals, assists. Then other moments where he goes through like 5 to 6 games where he just doesn't do much. And he has been a bit of a cold streak lately, at least in the past 4 matches, in the 2 Roma clashes and the match against Sassuolo, and obviously this one against Inter Milan. As for Yunus Musa, he started, as we said already, and he was subbed out around minute 77. And in the second half, I don't remember Musa being involved much, but in the first half, he was actually quite good. There were 2 moments where he actually could have gotten an assist. One of them was in transition where he drove the ball forward on his own, put Rafael Leão in a good position to score, but the goalkeeper saved it. And then the other one was a low cross where I believe he found Calabria. Calabria hit the shot and the goalkeeper saved that one as well. I thought Musa had a positive performance. I thought he was fine. Now, one thing that is for sure is that Pioli will not be the Milan coach next season, and that's probably for the best. Now, that said, is that good for Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa? Is that bad? Who knows? Time will tell. It just really depends on who they hire. But hey, that is one bald coach going unemployed, which makes me a bit jealous because I sort of wanted US Soccer to be sending a certain bald coach, which I'm not going to get into the name, you guys know who he is, to go collect his unemployment benefits. But unfortunately, he's still employed. Next up, we have Weston McKennie and Tim Weah from Juventus. And on Friday, Weah started and played 68 minutes for Juve during their 2-2 draw with Cagliari in the Serie A. Weston McKennie started off the bench this time for this specific match and was subbed in for Weah around minute 68. I don't have much to say about this game. That's enough airtime that I will give it. However, there have been several reports coming out that McKennie and Juventus are struggling to reach an agreement for his contract renewal. His contract with Juventus expires during the summer of 2025, so they would seek to sell Weston McKennie this summer if he doesn't renew in order to not lose him for free. And I'm honestly fine with Weston McKennie leaving Juventus. He's had a tremendous season for them, and I'm sure there will be plenty of options. And on a side note, I would be free from watching Allegri ball, which is almost equally as painful as getting kicked on the nuts or giving birth. Not that I have ever experienced any of those 2 painful experiences, but I am an Allegri ball survivor. And you know what? A wise old American once said, "As a proud American that I am, I stand against all types of terrorism, including soccer terrorism." And that man was Ben Franklin. True story right there. True story. Now, before we continue, a quick word from our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Their link is in the description in case you want to play the game as well. After that, we'll be back in a minute, and we're going to talk about the Americans in the Bundesliga. And thank you, Underdog Fantasy, for sponsoring Tactical Manager TV. Underdog Fantasy is a fun game to play prior to any soccer match, or basketball, or football as well, but we don't talk about those two in Tactical Manager TV. Sometimes basketball during live watch-alongs. I have been playing Underdog Fantasy for over a year now. You can download the app by using the link on the description of this video, and you can also use the promo code TMTV. And Underdog will be matching your first deposit for up to $100. And in the process, you'll be helping the channel avoid bankruptcy. The game I mainly play is called Pick'em. You just click on it, scroll to the soccer section, and pick a player for a specific match and select the stats that you believe will be lower or higher. It's very easy to play, but be smart about your picks because it's not easy to win. I'll be playing some Underdog Fantasy during some match live streams or match live watch-alongs, so stay tuned for that, as I will be forced to cheer for a player or root against him. Now, I am a professional hater, so I'll probably be rooting for the player's downfall. Once again, don't forget to use the promo code TMTV and use the link on the description of this video. Thank you, Underdog Fantasy, for sponsoring the channel. Now let's talk about the Americans that play in Germany in the Bundesliga. The first one being Brendan Aronson from Union Berlin. And on Saturday, Brendan Aronson started and played the full 90 minutes for Union Berlin during their 5-1 loss to Bayern. Apparently, despite the 5-1 loss, Brendan didn't really play that poorly. Apparently, because I didn't watch that game. So it's not apparently, it's allegedly. Next up, we have Joe Scally and Pifak from Borussia Mönchengladbach and John Brooks from Hoffenheim, because Gladbach and Hoffenheim clashed over the weekend. And on Saturday, Brooks started off the bench and was subbed in the 71st minute for Hoffenheim during their 4-3 win over Gladbach. As for Pifak, he was not available due to injury, and Joe Scally came off the bench around minute 69. Nice. For Borussia Mönchengladbach. Okay, now let me give you some context here. Joe Scally got the assist for Gladbach's second goal. It was a nice cross where his teammate headed the ball into the back of the net. At the same time, Joe Scally could have done a better job on his 1v1 defending on Hoffenheim's fourth goal during added time. As for John Brooks, he was sent in when Hoffenheim had a 3-1 lead, and they conceded 2 goals while he was on the field. However, he had no direct blame on any of those goals. After that, we have Kevin Paredes from Wolfsburg. And on Saturday, Kevin Paredes started off the bench and was sent in around minute 65 for Wolfsburg during their 1-0 win over Bochum. I actually watched this game for some reason, and Paredes was electric when he came in. Highly involved, asking for the ball, holding the ball up top, helping Wolfsburg run down the clock. He had a few shaky moments on the ball, but nothing bizarre. He also got a yellow card for scoring with his butt. Yes, the goalkeeper was trying to put the ball back in play, and Paredes blocked it with his butt, and it went in. Obviously, that didn't count. You need to allow the goalkeeper to put the ball back in play, and he got a yellow card for it. He wasn't great by any means, but I will say he had a positive impact for Wolfsburg and most certainly helped them get the 1-0 win. Last but not least, in Germany, we have Leonard Maloney from Heidenheim. And on Saturday, Maloney started and played 54 minutes for Heidenheim during their 2-1 loss to RB Leipzig. Unfortunately, Maloney was subbed out with what looks like a dislocated shoulder. How much time will he miss? I don't know. That's to be determined. After the Americans in Germany, we have the Americans that play in Spain. The first one being Luca de la Torre from Celta de Vigo. And on Saturday, Luca de la Torre was back from injury and he started off the bench for Celta Vigo during their 4-1 win over La Palmas. Luca was subbed in around minute 78 when they were already up 4-1. The second American that plays in Spain is Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis. And on Saturday, Johnny started and played 89 minutes for Real Betis during their 2-1 win over Valencia. Johnny had a solid to good performance, nothing spectacular, but good. Very solid defensively, ball secure, press resistant, and he did win 11 of his 17 50-50 duels. He's a lock to start for Real Betis at this point, and with Guido Rodriguez leaving this summer, Johnny's expected to continue to play a key role for them next season. Keep in mind that Valencia has not been bad this season, so this was a tough opponent. Valencia was in 7th place prior to this game. Now they are 8th, and Real Betis is 7th. Now we're going to go to the land of Napoleon, France, and talk about Floating Balogun that plays for Monaco. And on Sunday, Balogun started and played 85 minutes for Monaco during their 2-0 win over Brest in Ligue 1. His performance was very meh. It wasn't good. I'll leave it at that, which honestly has been most of his games this season, so I don't have to add anything to that. You all know what's going on with Balogun. But at least Monaco got a very important win that puts them in a comfortable situation to qualify to next year's UEFA Champions League. Now let's go to the Netherlands and talk about the Americans that play in the Eredivisie. But one quick update, there were no games in the Eredivisie this weekend because they had the Dutch Cup final. But PSV could win the league this Thursday if they defeat Heerenveen and Feyenoord drops points away against Go Ahead Eagles. Then PSV are the 2023-2024 Eredivisie champions 3 rounds before the end of the league. Now imagine if Go Ahead Eagles handed PSV the title, Eagles heading the title to Americans. It would be poetic. So that's the good news. PSV might win their league this Thursday. So big congratulations to Pepe, Dest, Tillman, Ernie Stewart if they do so. If they don't win it this Thursday, they'll probably win it the week after that. But I do have bad news. I have actually terrible news, awful news, the worst possible news I could deliver in this section. Serginho Dest injured his knee in training, and he's officially done for the season and questionable or even doubtful for the 2024 Copa America with the US men's national team. At the time of this recording, we don't have the specific knee injury that he got in practice, but if it's an ACL injury, he probably won't be back till 2025, considering the fact that we're almost in May and that takes at least 6 months to come back. We are wishing Destinho a speedy recovery. This sucks, but he will come back just fine. He'll do fine in his recovery. He had one heck of a season for PSV. He is also arguably, or he was at least this season, arguably the best fullback in the Eredivisie. So that's unfortunate. It sucks. You guys know Dest is one of my favorite US men's national team players. He always puts a smile on our face, but it looks like he should be out for quite some time. I am hopeful, and at the time of this recording, we don't know yet, but based on the reports, it looks bad. And if he doesn't play for the US men's national team this summer, who's going to play right back? I don't know. Joe Scally's probably the front runner, but Tim Weah is a candidate. And we have seen Greg Berhalter play Weston McKennie as a right back. At least we saw that against Jamaica. So what will Berhalter do? I don't know. Right now, I'm just wishing Dest a speedy recovery. We'll talk about the US men's national team in the Copa America when we start the actual coverage, which will be around late May, early June, maybe a bit before that, whenever we feel like it. Because you guys know, this is a dictatorship, not a democracy. Now it's time to head back to the United Kingdom to talk about the Americans that play in the second division of England. The first one being Josh Sargent from Norwich. And on Saturday, Sargent started and played the full 90 minutes for Norwich during their 1-1 draw with Bristol City. This result still keeps them holding strong to that 6th position, which will get them to the EFL Championship playoffs. During the first half, Sargent hit one shot out from outside the box that hit the post, but in the second half, he actually got a goal contribution. He got the assist to help Norwich tie the game after being down 1-0. The assist was essentially a 2-1 against the goalkeeper, where Sargent could have chosen to finish or make the smart and unselfish decision of giving his teammate a wide open tap-in. Josh Sargent chose wisely, and he got the assist for the goal. He now has 15 goals and 2 assists in just 24 games played for Norwich in the EFL Championship this season. Next up, we have Haji Wright from Coventry, but he didn't actually play in the second division of England this weekend. He played in the FA Cup semi-finals. And on Sunday, Haji Wright started and played 120 minutes for Coventry during their 3-3 draw with Manchester United that they ended up losing 4-2 on penalty shootouts in the FA Cup semi-finals. And this game was wild, crazy. So let's talk about it. Let me walk you through most of what happened. Around the 58th minute, Manchester United got a 3-0 lead, and it seemed like Coventry was finished, just like L3. But they managed to score at minutes 71 and 79 to cut down the lead to 3-2, giving them hope. But here's the problem. Hope kills. And their level of hope even went higher at the 95th minute. Haji Wright sent a cross into the box from the left flank where the Coventry forward struck the ball and hit the defender's hand. That was a penalty kick, and Haji Wright, the guy that becomes Kobe Bryant every time the game's on the line, stepped up and converted the penalty kick, sending the game to extra time and giving Coventry real hope that they could go through to the final to play Manchester City. But wait. It gets crazier. At the 120th minute, Haji Wright gets an assist after a low cross down the left. Unfortunately, he was like barely 1 inch offsides. Maybe. I don't know, man. The VAR might have gotten this one wrong, which is messed up. That goal would have put Coventry in the final. And I'll say this, if Manchester United scored that goal, I do not think the VAR would have called it offsides. I know I'm bringing up a conspiracy theory, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think Haji Wright was offsides. Just look at the replay, look at the pictures. It didn't seem like he was offsides. And even if he was 1 inch, I don't think that's why the offsides rule was created. Look, I could explain this in a different video. We don't have time for this right now. It kind of pissed me off. But well, the goal did not count. Haji Wright did convert his penalty kick during the penalty shootouts, but Coventry lost, and they were eliminated from the FA Cup. And as I said before, hope kills. But everyone from Coventry should be proud. They literally had a comeback from a 3-0 deficit against a team with a massive budget. And I'm very proud of Haji Wright. He came in clutch once again, just like he did in the quarterfinals against Wolves. And congratulations to Haji Wright once again. He's been having a tremendous season for Coventry. With that said, let's talk about one more American in England, and his name is Ethan Horvath from Cardiff City. Actually, Cardiff is not in England. I believe it's in Wales, the country. And on Saturday, Horvath started and played the full 90 minutes, helping Cardiff get a massive 2-1 win over Southampton. Horvath made 7 saves to help them get this win against one of the top teams in the EFL Championship this season. Still in the UK, we have a player that plays in Scotland, and his name is Cameron Carter-Vickers from Celtic. And on Saturday, Carter-Vickers started and played 120 minutes for Celtic during their 3-3 draw with Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup semi-finals. I said 120 minutes because this match went to extra time and penalty shootouts, where Celtic ended up winning and advancing to the Scottish Cup final. Carter-Vickers did not take any of the penalty kicks. Now, I know the Americans in the second division of Italy have been thriving, but we're not going to cover them this weekend. Maybe next weekend or the following weekend, we'll go through it. 2 teams that have Americans might get promoted, which would be Como with Nico Gioacchini and Venezia that has Gianluca Busio and Tanner Tessman. We'll talk about that another week. Right now, we're going to talk about the Americans that play in Liga MX in Mexico. And just a heads up, we are considering not covering the Americans in Liga MX anymore in the future, or covering them less, as honestly, they are not part of the USMNT conversation right now, any of them at the moment. So that said, let's talk about Alejandro Zendejas from Club America first. And on Saturday, Zendejas started and played 81 minutes for Club America during their 2-1 loss to Pumas. Club America scored off a penalty kick that was won by Zendejas. Next up, we have Cade Cowell from Chivas Guadalajara. And on Saturday, Cade Cowell stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Chivas, and he is having one rough season in Mexico. Last but not least, we have Brendan Vasquez from Monterrey. And on Saturday, Brendan Vasquez started off the bench and was subbed in around minute 61 for Monterrey during their 2-0 loss to Club León in Liga MX. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, dropped a like in this video. Do now, please. It helps us quite a bit. And don't forget to check out the 2 episodes that we're going to release this week with Greg Lalas about USL. One on Wednesday, one on Thursday. And thank you everyone that has been joining.